All right. So let's stick with the chat here, man. This is fun. Again, I had a bunch of stuff queued up. We can hit it tonight. No big deal. Just wanted to kind of keep this going. I think it's awesome. Holmes in the chat. Halfley loves Quay. They must value his ability to get calls in. That could be a factor too. X could do it though, I'm sure. And how will that affect X? Right. That's a real thing too. If Xavier McKinney all of a sudden starts wearing the green dot and he's responsible for setting the defense up, calling the play, communicating it, all those things. The other thing people don't talk about, you're getting the play call, it cuts off at 15 seconds, but sometimes the play call comes in early and there's a little tip from the DC. You know what I mean? It could be like a two-way call. It could be, hey, here's what we're doing. Hey, all right, Quay, we're going. You don't say nickel 4-2-5 because the personnel is already on the field. But let's say you look up and you go, all right, we're going to cover 3 strong buzz here, Quay. Now, if they shift the tray, let's check out and go to will fire. Right? Because now they're going to have 3 targets on one side. Let's blitz the backside. It might be something like that. That player's got to be willing to say it in a huddle. Hey, listen, guys, we're doing this, this, and this. If they shift if it's a 2x2 set, we're going to stick with buzz. If they go to trips or tray, then we're going to fire the will. All right, let's go, break. And then they get out there, you see the motion, and all of a sudden you see players communicating, right? They're talking. That might trigger a will fire. Some of that comes into play too. And what you're saying there, Holmes, that could be the case. Maybe Halfley knows that Quay's more comfortable with that and Edgerrin can't handle it, right? So if you take Quay off the field, someone else got to wear the green dot. That's a very good point, man. A lot of things change. A lot of things shift. Randy Cleavers, we should be able to get pressure with 4 this week. I'm telling you, man, if you think they're just going to pin their ears back with 4 and get after the quarterback, this will be the first time this year they've done it. Not for me. You guys know where I stand. It's not from they don't have the talent to do it. They're simply not rushing the quarterback that way this year. They're keeping one back lagging, occupying a double team and playing that little spy look. Chicago may come out and try to run the ball 30 times too. They got a new play caller. That could happen, right? That changes things up too. But you're right, though. If there's a team that you could just pin your ears back and go get, this is it. I just don't see Halfley calling it that way because he's focused on calling defense and not calling for stats. It seems that way anyway. Holmes, Clay, I totally agree. No one watches tape anymore. He came in as a clown. Did you guys see that Caleb got dragged on Twitter for his foot fetish? I don't even want to get into it. I shouldn't have read it on there. It's untelling, man. It's untelling. So the other thing, too, when he was at USC, he was all over billboards and everything. There's nothing wrong with players making money. I am pro NIL. I think it's long overdue, personally. You've got these universities making so much freaking money. Presidents of the university making all this money, coaches getting fully guaranteed contracts, making all this money, and then the players aren't allowed to work at McDonald's. That's crazy to me, right? So I'm pro NIL. I'm just simply saying this dude was painted to be this absolute superstar at USC, all over the billboards, all the endorsements, everything, right? And I go, what has he won? Well, he won the Heisman. Okay, what has he won? I don't care about individual trophies. Did he win a national title anywhere? No, he didn't. Interesting. And we're painting him out to be Tim Tebow 2.0. Like Tim Tebow got dragged when he got in the league, right? Tim Tebow was a dog in college. He was a leader of men. This is a perfect example. Caleb Williams has so much more natural talent than Tim Tebow. But how the hell did Tim Tebow win national titles and Caleb didn't? Tim Tebow made up for it in leadership and sacrificing his body and hey, what he said in Denver. You guys remember the overtime win Tebow had in Denver when he walked to the sideline, looked the OC right in the eye, and said it was like 4th and goal or so. It was something. The game is on the line, and he walked over to the play caller and said, "Nobody gets the ball in this position." He said, "There's only one person who gets the ball in this position," and went back on the field. Guess what they called? It's a quarterback run. Because that's leadership. Put it on me. Put it on me. I'm going to drag this freaking team into the end zone for a touchdown. Now, he couldn't hit a bull in the ass with a mop throwing the football. Don't get me wrong, at the NFL level, because that window is much tighter than college. But that's a good example of somebody being a natural born leader and the other one not being, if that makes sense or not. But let's see here. Rock, that kid Herbert is nice. He's the one quarterback I've seen the Packers play that I thought could play as good as Jay Love. Herbert's a dog, and it's like, okay, how are they going to transition? His numbers aren't as gaudy this year because they go into hardball ball now, which is, if I remember correctly, They built through the offensive line. Hark. That's what Chicago should have done. And that's not me talking. That's Bill Belichick talking. Like, you've seen what they did. They went out and got all these flashy. You remember in the offseason, guys? They went and got DJ Moore. I don't think it's a bad signing, but again, wide receiver should be the last piece you put in place. They went and got Keenan Allen, right? They got all these shiny new targets, and their offensive line's horrible. You got to build in the trenches. Again, focus on what's important. Left tackle, tier 1. Quarterback, tier 1. Center, tier 2. Then you put the rest of your offense together. If you don't have a backside protector and you don't have a center that can command excellence on that offensive line, your offense is cooked. I don't care who you've got playing wide receiver. You look, it's every single year you see it across the league. The teams that make it far in the playoffs have good center play and good backside protection play. It just is what it is. All right, let's move along here real quick. Just checking the chat. All right, yeah, we're good. All right. So, again, personnel, we wanted to hit on that briefly. They expect the Bears to be in 11 personnel 68.4% of the time, and they're in 12 personnel 22.4% of the time is looking like how that shakes up. Now, what's their EPA ranking out of those sets? Their EPA ranking is 14th in the league out of 11 personnel, and out of 12 personnel, it drops to 26. So they're way, way, way more effective in their nickel personnel. You know what that would tell me as a coach? You know what? Why don't we try to march our nickel defense out there even when they're in 12 in case they try to catch us with some play action? And now if they establish, okay, they're having success with their 12 personnel against our nickel, then we'll shift it to our 4-3 base. That might be a way to go. I think of it in terms of that when someone is really, really, really inefficient with certain personnel, maybe you can try to gain a little bit of an advantage going lighter or heavier. Like if they were really bad at 11 personnel, you might say, you know what, when we catch them, when they come out in 11 personnel on early downs, they're probably still going to try to run it. Let's throw our base out there. Let's see if they can beat our backer in pass coverage. You know what I'm saying? So I could see it being something like that too. But anyway, that's just a quick look at the personnel. Let's get to some of the other things we had on tap here real quick. I'm just going to call this. We'll just say Bears preview here. I'm trying to keep up for the podcast here. I apologize, guys. So let's see what we had here. A couple of things. First of all, we hit on it last night. Jordan Love seems to be 100% healthy. That's great news. Obviously, he's going to be the most important aspect of this game. He's actually practicing is huge. Listen, the inconsistencies, one thing that I've failed as a podcast host the last couple of weeks is not talking about the importance of him practicing, and that probably led to some of his struggling here lately. So I want to mention it now. As Rob Demovsky tweeted out, with Jordan Love no longer limited, it means he took all the practice reps for the first time in a while. Quote, this is from Matt LaFleur. It'd be good just to get him some practice under his belt where he's fully healthy, Matt LaFleur said. Love will be listed on the injury report as a full participant. So obviously he's completely healthy. That's good. He's getting a full week of practice now instead of just limited and all that stuff. So Xavier McKinney, PFF Green Bay Packers tweeted this out. Xavier McKinney has allowed fewer than 10 receiving yards in his coverage in 7 of his 9 games this season. Only 6 first downs allowed, and he's got 6 interceptions. So he's got the same amount of interceptions of first downs he's allowed. That is absolutely awesome. So again, fewer than 10 receiving yards in coverage in 7 of his 9 games this season. Amazing stat. Xavier McKinney completely turned that defense around. What an amazing player, amazing leader. I love what he said there. Like I said, in the locker room, you could tell the safety room really looks up to him, really the entire D. You could kind of notice Ja too. Watch Jair when he's around X. Ja isn't like, it doesn't look like he's trying to command attention when X is around. Like when you see him on the field, you can see Ja kind of studying him too, and that's a great sign. I think Jair's in a great place. It's exciting to get him back this week too. Love to see Jair get another pick 6. That'd be awesome. Look at the Packers catching up here. You know, we had showed the box that Baz put out that was Kraft Yak and Cheese earlier this year. Well, the Green Bay Packers tweeted this out yesterday. It says Tucker, Kraft, Yak, and TDs, and obviously got it set up like the mac and cheese box. So some statistics there. He's got 5 receiving touchdowns on the year. I think he's tied on the team or maybe second on the team in receiving touchdowns, which is awesome. He's tied for 8th in the NFL. All right. In I think it's in touchdown. I guess it's receiving touchdowns. He's tied for 2nd amongst tight ends in receiving touchdowns. So Tucker Kraft, if I'm reading that stat correctly, that's right. He's a dog. He's tied in 1. It's awesome. Ben Sims, you guys know I'm the president of the Ben Sims fan club. He has replaced Rudy Ford as my favorite underdog story on the Packers now. Ben Sims is I think it's exciting that we're going to have him for another year or two. I think he gives you depth and stability at the tight end position that you otherwise wouldn't have. Luke Musgrave coming back from injury a little later in the year. He had surgery. I'm not sold on Musgrave. You guys know I had a much higher grade. Not much higher. I had Musgrave in the tier ahead of Tucker Kraft the year they came out in the draft. But the reality is you get to the league, some people advance and others don't. Musgrave hasn't taken that step yet. And if you're in that club that, hey, he's been injured, I get it, completely understand. It's a valid excuse. Maybe he can get healthy, stay healthy, and take that next step. You can't improve when you're always in the training room, right? And you can't stay on the practice field. So with Tucker, though, man, what a blessing it has been. And he's a leader of men. You can tell he's a spark plug for this, not just this offense, but this entire team. I think he's going to be a good tight end for a long time for sure. Check the chat there. All right, we're good. This was interesting. Jaquan Brisker is going to be out Sunday. According to Brad Biggs, I looked and it seemed legit. Obviously, he's got 371,000 views on this tweet. So it wasn't just somebody in their mama's basement out there putting out false information. Sounds like strong safety Jaquan Brisker will not play this week. I think he was dealing with concussions. Let me grab a sip. So with the concussion issue here, obviously you're getting into dangerous territory if it's something he's had a multitude of concussions. I've been pretty vocal about that. I was a knucklehead back in up until about 2009, 2010. I was that dude that was the league's soft now. That's not a personal foul when they were leaving with the helmet and this and that. And then as I was ignorant. As I became more knowledgeable around CTE and the brain damage that's actually being caused, and unfortunately, you had a lot of players that ended their life because of it. I had to step back and evaluate myself. Like, hold up, man, Bob. I know it's entertaining for you, but this is bigger than the game of football. I understand that people are being cautious when it comes to concussions because I don't know if you guys watched the Aaron Hernandez thing on FX. Let me know in the chat if you have. You can, if you've got Disney Plus, Hulu is with it as well. If you just got Hulu, you can watch it. But I think it's called American Sports Story, and it's Aaron Hernandez. I watched the whole thing. I watched the final episode last night. It was tough to get through, man. And I'm not trying to paint Aaron Hernandez out as a good person. I'm not trying to say he, I don't. The victims and the victim's family, obviously, first and foremost, the most important thing here. But man, that was tough. It's a tough ending last night. I couldn't go to sleep till like 2 a.m. after I watched it. Like an idiot, I watched it at about 12:30, and it hit hard. It was just like, man, this dude made it out of a bad situation, made it to the top of his profession, and then you find out later he was dealing with CTE. Really, really bad case of CTE. It was tough to watch. I highly recommend you go watch it. Now, listen, there's some stuff in there you do not want to have kids in the room. It is not that kind of show. There's going to be a lot of things that's very, very inappropriate for kids. And me as a grown-ass man, it made me feel uncomfortable. But and keep in mind, they took some freedoms to paint a picture that they wanted to paint, and they give a disclaimer like, hey, look, we don't have 100% factual evidence to back this stuff up, but this is kind of the story that's being rumored, how everything fell into place. But go check it out. If you love football, I think it's worth watching. It might change your mind if you're one of those guys saying, no, the game's soft, But Bears strong safety Jaquan Brisker will not play this week. I'm pretty sure that was concussion related. Let's go to the injury report and see if that's what they had him listed at. I think they did. Yeah, concussion. So that's what it is. Listen, we want the Bears to suck. That's what we do on this show. But obviously, when it comes to concussions, you got Tarvarius Moore down there, another defensive back with a concussion who did not participate. nothing but well wishes to those guys, and obviously protecting themselves long term. You're seeing what Brett Favre is going through right now. They're saying that was definitely football related too. I don't say definitely. Many people believe that was football related that led to the advanced Parkinson disease, I think is what he's got. My father-in-law just passed away from Parkinson's and a multitude of other things a couple years ago. It's such a tough disease to watch people fight through. So anytime you got multiple brain injuries on a consistent basis, got to take it serious. Like I said, if you're one of those people that think it's not a big deal, we can respect, we can agree to disagree. I used to be in that camp, and now I'm like, holy cow, man, it's sad. It's pitiful. So got to keep that stuff in mind for sure. All right, let's see what else we got here on the docket. We hit the injury report yesterday. We won't bore you with all that again. Let's get to a coverage through week 10 look here. What are the Packers doing coverage-wise? Where is their pass defense ranking as far as EPA is concerned? It looks like the Packers currently are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th in the league in EPA per dropback, okay, allowed. So they're the 10th best pass defense as far as EPA goes. Now, what are they doing defensively? Just to give you guys an update every week, they're running cover 3 zone the majority of the time, 31% of the time. And as people have talked about here on the show, and we've got I think it's Joshua, I believe, in the Patreon group, who's done the great job of keeping up with our Chalk Talk from every interception. We're going to show every interception this year on Chalk Talk, and he's basically keeping up with, was it man coverage or zone coverage? Zone coverage, hands down, leading the way in interception producing calls for the Packers defense from this Jeff Hafley defense. So cover 3 zone, 31% of the time. There could be some match in there too, but predominantly cover 3 zone, 31% of the time is the call. Second most is cover 1 man at 22%. Now, again, that does not force near as many turnovers, near as many takeaways as a zone defense does, but it's got its place for sure, right? Because you can play like cover 1 man, that can be cover 1 hole or cover 1 robber, meaning you got deep zone, underneath zone, everyone else is man coverage across the board. Cover 1 man could also be a 5-man rush where you might do a wheel fire or a mock fire, so you're taking the drop aspect away, you're keeping the deep safety, and you're bringing 5 men on the rush. They like to do that a lot this year. Not a lot, but they like to do it from time to time. They pick their spots to try to get a sack, a crucial sack in a crucial situation, knocking a team out of field goal range, things like that. So, again, cover 1 man could include that as well at 22% of the snaps. Next is cover 2 zone, 20% of the snaps. You guys know we've called out Tampa 2 a lot this year. Tampa 2 has been a big takeaway play for us this year. It's been absolutely huge. As a matter of fact, I feel comfortable saying we've got more interceptions out of Tampa 2 than any other defense we've called. I feel comfortable saying that. So teams are going to catch on to that. The way you beat Tampa 2, first of all, Hafley's disguising it really well, mugging the line, only bringing 4, and he'll run an invert Tampa 2. He'll run a regular Tampa 2. If the quarterback can identify it, the way you beat it is you need a receiver walking the mock or the wheel out down the seam in the Tampa look and then running a dig underneath. That's how you beat Tampa 2. You beat Tampa 2 that way, or you beat it with hole shots or what I call, hitting the bunkers, right? You got in a cover 2 zone, you got 3 weak spots. You got what I call the base down the seam, right? The huge void in the middle of the field because you're playing 2 deep zone. And you've got the 2 bunkers on the sideline, which most quarterbacks refer to that as the hole shot. You're trying to hit over top of the corner underneath the safety. So you attack it that way from those 3 vantage points. And if they're playing Tampa 2, walk that mock out, and then you attack right in the middle of the field. If it's not Tampa 2, then you're going to have an underneath hook curl that's going to be sitting in that zone that you won't be able to hammer that. So typically you'll come up with a passing concept where like dagger is perfect. If you come out in a 2x2 set and you run dagger, and the go aspect of the dagger concept is to attack the seam, right? You attack the seam, you're walking that mock out, and now that dig is going to be open across the middle. The problem with that is if you've only got a 2x2 set, those corners in Tampa 2 in the underneath hook zone, whether it's a safety and you're sugaring or it's a backer and a hook curl, they're taught that, listen, if it's a 2x2 set, as soon as that guy clears, the other backer's got the seam, you go back, you drop to a depth where you could take away that dig, and now you've stopped that play, that way of attacking it. So in that case, you need some kind of a leak underneath that when that backer drops to a depth of 10 or 12 yards to take that dig away, now you can dump it off underneath and pick up an easy 5 to 8 yards, right? So it's levels in reading the play, right, from an offense standpoint, and the defense is taught different ways of shutting it down. Now, I do want to make a correction. Last night, I mentioned when you've got receivers on each side of the formation and you got one running deep and another running cross, we called that dagger. That is not dagger. Okay, I made a mistake. I woke up this morning, first thing I thought was I told them that was dagger. That's actually called strike. That's a strike concept. Okay, so dagger is when you're on the same side of the field. And matter of fact, you know what? This might be a good time to do it. Let's do this real quick. I'm going to pull up the Telestrator and show you exactly what I'm talking about. It'll make things a little bit easier here. Let me try to find a good screen grab that'll work. Let's say, let's go with this one. I think this will work. Oh, no, it won't. Of course not. It's a snow game. You can barely see the damn screen. That's hilarious. Let's see this one right here. Okay, so I don't even know what the set is. Of course, that's a bunch set. Swing and a miss. We need somewhat of a – here we go. Here's a dub set. This should work. Yeah, okay, cool. Let me show this on the screen real quick. Drop this down. Explain to you what I mean by strike and dagger real quick. I want the Telestrator. All right, so you guys should be able to see that. Let's drop that down. So, okay, when we're talking about dagger, this would be a dagger concept, right? This would be dagger. It's a go out of the two, and then the one runs a dig. That's called dagger, okay? So what we're talking about with the defense here is if it's Tampa 2, right, then this guy's going to lock eyes on the two on either side. If either of those guys go vert, typically they'll pick one side. In this case, they probably prioritize the slot receiver over the tight end. If he goes vertical, he walks out. Now you've got all this open. Now you've got all of this open space right here because he's now down the seam here, right? So you're walking him out with the two, and then you're attacking that space with the dig. All right, that's what we were just talking about. Now, strike concept. Let's pretend this wide receiver is an offensive lineman, so he's not even going to go out in the route, okay? And let's pretend that this tight end is staying in the block. They're going to go max protect, okay? So you've only got two receivers in this route concept. The strike concept is similar to dagger, but it's from players on opposite sides of the field. This guy, let's say, is just going to run a go, and then he's going to work across the field underneath after you clear that out. That's called strike, okay? That's what Shane Waldron did really well in Seattle. It was a staple in his offense, and I think they tried to implement it in Chicago, and it didn't take as well because, again, that's a long way to run, guys. That's a long way to run a route, right? You got to have protection, and your quarterback's got to know how to move these guys out of the way to open up these spaces, moving safeties with their eyes, moving backers with their eyes, and Caleb just isn't there yet. Elite talent, but again, not a great quarterback, right? From a complete package standpoint. Hopefully that makes sense there. But yeah, Emilio, oh snap, the telly coming out. Yeah, so we'll do that from time to time rather than me try to explain it like a knucklehead. We'll actually draw it up on the screen. If you guys would take a quick second, hit that like button. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us here on this glorious Thursday afternoon as we're getting ready for the Bears game coming up this week. Going to be a lot of fun watching that game unfold as we get closer. So we're good in the chat. Let's go to the next topic. Had a couple other things queued up. We talked about coverage. Let's look at the Bears real quick. Where are the Bears? Where are the Bears? They should be toward the top, right? Are they not? Where is the Bears at? How am I missing this? I do this. Oh, they're at the very top. Duh. All right, I was looking for red and blue. It's just solid blue. So they've got the best EPA per drop back, okay, defensively. This is a solid defensive team, guys. They're calling cover 3 zone 38% of the time. No surprise there because when Matt Eberflus was the DC in Indianapolis, they were predominantly a zone team. I remember us doing the show in the offseason when they hired Eberflus. We did a deep dive on, hey, here's the type of defense he runs. It's going to be predominantly zone defense. So there you see cover 3 zone 38% of the time. Second most is cover 1 man, same as us, 19% of the time, not the percentage, but that's the second most call they make. Then they shift to a cover 4 zone at 16% of the time, cover 2 zone 13% of the time. So that's the defense that they like to try to run. in Chicago, and they're doing it damn good. They really are. They run a little cover 6 2 at 5%, cover 2 man 1%, cover 0 1% of the time. So they're not going to bring a lot of zero blitzing. What they're going to do is a lot of cover 3 mixed in with cover 1. So Jordan's going to have to be reading middle field close the majority of the day. Essentially what that means is end result play, middle field close, you tack on the 38% plus the 19%, which will come to what is that? That's 57%. 57% of your offensive snaps will most likely be facing middle field close. Matt LaFleur knows that. Check it off the list. Let's put together our best passing concepts, our best route combinations to beat middle field close. That's going to be the approach there. And when you play middle field close, the other thing it tells you, it's not cover 4, 2 high shell. It's not cover 2, 2 high shell. It's not cover 2 man, 2 high shell. It's not cover 2, 6 where you'll decide that most of the time when you're in cover 3 zone, you're going to have a safety rotated down to the box, and that's going to help in the running game. Now, the problem is they're pretty bad at stopping the run from what I hear. So offensively, the Packers have got to lean on the run. Your run has been so damn effective. Stick with the run. I don't care if you're down by 14 points in the third quarter. Stay with the run. That's going to be how you move the ball down the field and start tacking on points. If we start this passing on first down because we think we're a superior team, that's going to be the recipe for getting your ass kicked in Chicago on a game that most people, Randy Cleavers included, thinks you should win. But that's how I could see that playing out, is you getting too aggressive trying to attack in the passing game. When you see here, they're the number one pass defense in the league as far as EPA goes. So hopefully that makes sense. That's the way I would approach it. We'll deep dive it a little more in depth as we get through the rest of the week. We'll look at the PFF preview and stuff tonight. We'll kind of start diving into that stuff. But let's see. We had a listener comment here. This was from Robert on the Ticket King text line. Said, "Hey Clayton, I can help you guys out with the chief ref and announcers this Sunday. Good old Bill Vinovich once again." A facepalm emoji. Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady on the call, which is really exciting to have. I like Tom Brady. I know people. It just seems to be like the cool thing to do is when a former player steps into the booth. It's like everybody kind of piles on, like, oh, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They suck. I think he's done an excellent job. He started shaky, don't get me wrong, but I think he's really turned it on. I think he's been really, really good. Let's see here. We can pull up the refs too. I've got that information ready to go, I think. Let me get that ready to share here. I don't know why my screen's acting weird now. All right. Screen share, all refs. So I know, listen, what's funny about this, Robert, and I'm as guilty as you are, bub. It don't matter what ref's name's called. There's not one ref on this list that we hear call and we go, yeah, I like him. It's always, oh, God, it's him this week, because we always, as fans, we're so emotional. We always remember the bad calls. We don't ever remember the games where it's like, man, the refs did good that game. It's always the bad ones, right? So let me drop this down. And, Robert, thank you for looking that up, pal. Here are the ref statistics. And, again, the ref this week is Bill Vinovich, is going to be the chief. So you can actually sort here on this website by total flags thrown. Ron Tolbert, I got to put him up here on the screen, Tim's boy, is still leading the league in total flags thrown at 184. Now, keep in mind, he has officiated. He's been the chief on games, one game, I think the most in the league as far as that goes. Now, here's what's interesting. When you say Bill Vinovich, where's Bill Vinovich at? We got to go pretty far down the list, guys. Check it out. So he's only called 9 games, and I wish we could can we do total? Is that total flags per game? I think it is. That should be total flags per game, right? I think so. So if that's the case, Bill Vinovich, is fourth from the bottom, right? At 12.7 flags per game, I believe is what that is. Okay, so we should get a game as opposed to like a Ron Tolbert or Adrian Hill or Clete Blakeman, who just love throwing that hanky around the yard. We should get a game this week that's going to be less penalties, at least statistically speaking, from a official standpoint. That makes sense. So let's see how many of them were dismissed. Ron Tolbert's dismissed 33 of his penalties called. So talk about being flag happy out there. And I'd say he's probably Bill Vinovich is toward the bottom of the list with this right here with the dismissed flags. But as far as like overall yardage, Clete Blakeman, Ron Tobert, and Alex Kemp lead the way there in penalty yardage. And it looks like Bill Vinovich is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth from the bottom. But keep in mind, he has his crew's only called 9 games this year, as opposed to Tolbert calling 10. So worth mentioning. So again, some people may not care about the officiating. We try to cover everything on this show, and I think it's important to kind of keep your eye on, okay, this week we should have less flags. Doesn't mean there's not going to be a lot of flags, but there should be less than what we've seen, right? Hopefully that's the case too. And as far as what he said about TV broadcasters, this is cool. Matt Schneidman had tweeted this out. The Packers' next 6 games, Week 11 at Chicago is going to be Burkhardt and Tom Brady. Week 12 versus San Francisco is going to be Burkhardt and Tom Brady. Then Week 13 versus Miami is going to be Thanksgiving night on NBC. That is going to be absolutely awesome. I'm going to be in a turkey coma out there watching football. It's going to be the Dolphins at Lambeau, probably a little bit chilly in the air, right? Going to have good food. By that time, we're digging into the desserts pretty heavy. And that's going to be, who is it on Thursday night? It's Al Michaels and our boy Kirk Herbstreit, which Kirk Herbstreit absolutely broke my heart the other day with Ben passing away his dog. Man, if you guys are dog lovers like we are big dog lovers here. That just broke me down seeing how upset he was over that. But he's going to be on the call there Thursday night. I personally like that broadcast team, but again, I'm not a harsh critic when it comes to broadcasters. I love Al Michaels. People say Al Michaels is too dull, he's too boring. I'll tell you who I don't like. I don't like the announcers that lose their mind. I think it's fake. It's overblown. It seems cheesy. Everybody loves Gus Johnson. I'm not a fan of Gus Johnson at all. I love Mike Tirico. Mike Tirico is very kind of right in the middle. He's calm. He gets excited when he needs to, but he stays calm. Gus Johnson's just over the top. Seems fake to me, and I can't take it. It's just constant screaming and yelling. And Al Michaels is cut from the same cloth as the greatest announcer in history, in my opinion, and that's our boy Pat Summerall. Pat Summerall was a minimalist. Pat Summerall would tell you what you needed to know, let you hear the crowd, and not get too animated. And then John Madden would bring the animation in, right? But to me, that's what Al Michaels does, and I absolutely love it. Maybe I'm old school. I'm the get off my lawn guy. But anyway, they should be on the call there if I remember correctly, right? Thursday night. You know what? Thursday night's typically prime, so they're not going to be on the call. NBC is calling it, so that will be Tirico and our other boy. I got to hit him with it real quick.
Here's the guy.
Put it on loop. It's going to be Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico calling on Thanksgiving night. If I'm looking at that correctly, I'm pretty sure they're the NBC team this year. I like Tirico. I don't mind Collinsworth either. I don't hate on him. I like former players calling the game because they understand the insight. But that'll be who's calling that. Then Week 14, Thursday Night Football, that should be Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. And then Week 15 will be Sunday Night Football, obviously. That'll go back to, this is kind of confusing, at Seattle. Sunday Night Football Week 15 will be back to Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth. And then Week 16 will be Buck and Aikman on Monday Night Football, which I like them too. Again, it's kind of like movie, critiquing movies. I don't watch a movie. It's very seldom I see a movie and go, that was horrible. I don't watch a lot of movies because I think they're boring. But almost every movie I watch, it's like I can see the value in that. That was put together good type thing. So let's go to the chat real quick. Anything else? Look at Brambo in here. What's up, Brambo? Became a new YouTube member. Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for swinging through, man. It's Bears week. Everybody getting back in the fold here. You absolutely love it, man. Reef in the chat said, protect the ball. Also, no fumbling. Amen, Reef. It's going to be the key to the game, dude. There's no two ways about it. Got to protect the football. Win the turnover differential, right? Top priority. Try to control the momentum of the middle eight, and then play that fourth quarter as a standalone game and do whatever you got to do to get out of Chicago with a win. I'm not expecting a blowout. If we get one, awesome. But I think this team is – some of these players they get their back against the wall, right? There is some division in the locker room. Put it this way. They're either going to come out and play great ball or that team's going to absolutely fall apart this Sunday. There's not going to be anything in between. I believe that with everything in me, man. I really do. Let's see here. Coach Lynn says, I'm watching the Aaron Hernandez story. It's really good. Coach, it's I don't know if you've seen the last episode yet, but, man, tore me up, Buck. Tore me up. If anybody has ever lost a friend due to depression I'll tell you another one. The Odin Lloyd episode, Coach, broke my heart. Like, it's like, again, no one was there. We don't know exactly how it took place, but if it took place that way, it kind of makes sense. And it does paint both people involved as humans, but Odin Lloyd sounded like just an amazing, amazing young man that did not need to lose his life. No one needs to lose their life, don't get me wrong, but Odin Lloyd, it's just pitiful. Again, people are going, I don't want to watch this, Clayton. It sounds depressing. I think you should watch it as a football fan. I do, because it's important to kind of get that side of the story, although we don't know if it's 100% factual. It's just based off of rumors, information, that type of thing. So, yeah. Let's see. Mike Berry, walk the dog and clean the fireplace, taking a break, listen to the pod. Appreciate you, Mike. Hope you're having a good day, buddy. Get that fireplace ready. That cold weather's coming, man. No doubt. Cheesehead Murph, welcome to the posse. Bram, exactly. And then he says, keep penalties to a minimum. That's going to be huge too. It sounds like Emilio puts a little more emphasis on the penalties than I do. For me, in that order, it's turnovers, drop passes, then penalties. It's kind of where I feel like, hey, look, you got to, if you can clean up the first two, you can deal with the third. But if you could play a completely clean game with penalties and throw 3 picks, you're going to lose that ball game most likely. It's going to be in the 90 percentile that you lose that game if you don't have any takeaways in addition to you turning the ball over 3 times, So, again, it's all important, but if you were to prioritize it, I would prioritize it in that light. Brambo said, completely agree on Gus Johnson, Clay. I'm glad I'm not the only get off my lawn guy, because it drives me crazy. It'd be different if it felt organic, but it feels like he's just trying to oversell it, trying to act like something that it's not. And that drives me crazy. The game is good enough that you don't have to make any kind of fake emotions. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should just call the game for what it is. And I think that's what Al Michaels does well. And that's why I like him. And it's damn sure what our boy back in the day, God, now his name's evading me, that was coupled up with John Madden, Pat Summerall. It's definitely what he did. He was really good at that. Just call the game, man. Call the game what it is. And they would get tickled every now and again. They had their inside jokes. It was great, man. I miss Madden and Summerall, no doubt. But let's see. Last thing, let's hit on the playoff picture real quick, and then we'll get out of here, okay? And we'll hit this again as a refresher later. This is the new playoff picture. So in the AFC, the Chiefs are the 1 seed, Bills are the 2 seed, Steelers are the 3, Texans are the 4, Ravens are the 5, Chargers are the 6, and the Broncos are the 7. All right, in the AFC. In the NFC, the Lions are the number 1 seed at 8-1, Eagles number 2 seed at 7-2. And this is a perfect example here. I'm going to say this: Week 1 this year, people were dogging the Eagles. Packers should boat race the Eagles. Packers should beat the Eagles. The Eagles haven't. Remember, we were talking about their last 10 games or last 7 games or whatever it was. They're the 2nd seed in the NFC this year. That's a perfect example. Well, DVOA says this, and then you look up 5 weeks later, and nobody's mentioning what the DVOA was in Week 1. That's why I throw that. I understand if people want to prioritize it, but that drives me absolutely insane. It's like, that is not the telltale of what a team is or a team's going to be. It just isn't. So anyway, the Eagles, who were supposed to be trash and we were going to beat them by 14 points, beat us in Week 1. And many fans, the couple that get really emotional and like to cuss on the pod, they jump out talking about this team's trash, they're so blah, blah, blah. And you look up and the Eagles are 7-2. So just saying. Number 3 seed, Atlanta Falcons at 6-4. Number 4 seed, Cardinals at 6-4. Number 5 seed, Vikings at 7-2. 6th seed is the Washington Commanders. Dan Quinn we talked about earlier, 7-3. And then the number 7 seed currently is the Green Bay Packers, sitting there at 6-3. So every game is going to matter from here on out, guys. Got to continue to battle. You've got other teams that are going to try to sneak up and steal these spots from you. I think I got the NFC standings. This does not include the Monday Night Football game, so the Rams are actually 4-5, which I don't think it'll shift much here. But essentially what you got behind you, breathing down your neck for that number 7 seed, is the San Francisco 49ers. Oh, by the way, guess who we play next week? San Francisco 49ers. It's going to be a dandy. I can't wait, man. Cannot wait. So the Packers sitting they're at 6-3, the Niners at 5-4, and then everyone else below them is at least 4-5. So we're rooting against the Niners this week. Obviously, we root against the Niners every week unless they're playing a division rival that's going to help the Packers. But the Packers need to get a win. Let's root for a Niners loss. That would give us a little bit of breathing room in that number 7 seed. And also, let's hope the Lions and the Vikings eventually slip up and somehow we could steal this NFC North. But that's kind of just a quick look. We'll take a deeper look at it and get you guys involved on tonight's show. So, all right, that's it, guys. We're going to get out of here. Appreciate y'all hanging out. Didn't plan on doing the hour 20 today for the morning show, flying solo, but you guys were awesome in the chat. Appreciate y'all contributing. Want to give a special shout out to Randy Cleavers with the super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. You are the man. And Brambo becoming a member here on YouTube. Also, check out our Patreon group. Scan that QR code in the upper right. That'll send you to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. If you're a member of one of those 3 tiers, by midnight Saturday, we'll put you on the Larry McCarron pinky wheel, and we're going to spin that thing and give away an autographed Romeo Doubs rookie card that was donated by United Baits, one of our great listeners. So we'll be doing that on the post-game show. So make sure you're a member of one of those 3 tiers in our Patreon group if you want to enter into that. And also, it's just a way for us to give back to those who are supporting the channel. We got an awesome community over there with chat groups and all that stuff. Get questions for the show read, all that. So again, thanks everybody. We'll see you guys tonight for PTA Live. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack go.